Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Zoo. You might be confused why you're hearing my voice announce this at the moment, and why you only see myself and Terry in the show. By the way, joining me is Minion Terry. Say hello, Terry.
Hello, Terry.
But the reason is because there's a bit of a mix-up over on Johnny's side. He will be joining in once he's able, but I'm hopping in to get things going off right now, and we will hopefully be joined by Hate Camel and a couple other people as time goes on. But at the time being, it's just the two of us. So I am the keeper for the night, Sanguine. How you doing tonight, Terry?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I was reminded by you of just how many games I own that I still haven't played, and yet I keep buying more.
Yeah, especially, I think you also do the Humble Bundle subscription like I do.
No, so
You don't anymore?
no, I never did. The problem
You
is
never
the problem with the monthly subscription is they don't tell you, or at least didn't last time I checked, which games you're going to get that month.
did. Yep.
And it's like, well, when you own 2,100 games, the chance of duplicates is fairly high. So I'm not going to pay $12 or however much it is a month for an unknown number of games that I'll actually get to play, or like that won't be duplicates. So it's like, no, that's a bad deal for me. I might occasionally check the actual bundles where you can see, pay $5, get these 10 games. That sort of thing I might check out. But the monthly subscription was a sort of mystery bag. Like, I can't go with that.
Yeah, I'm surprised how few times I've ended up with any duplicates, because I have a massively overblown catalog as well.
Yes.
And I think there's only been like 2 or 3 times that I'm going, oh, I have this game. And most of the time it's something completely random that I'm going, okay, not only why the fuck do I have this game, but why was that it? Who the hell has this fucking game anyways?
Speaking of duplicates, if anyone in chat wants Crash Drive 2, Minion Masters, or The Witcher 1, I have duplicates of those, so let me know and I can give them to you. if we're friends on Steam.
But it's one of those things that I'm surprised by the variety that they give and how few times I've had where I've gone, well, shit, I already have this game.
Well,
and they tend to go for a bit stranger games with the occasional big title thrown in.
Well, bundle sites are the reason that I have so many games. Like not just Humble, but there's like Fanatical and Indie Gala, and I think there's a couple more that I can't think of off the top of my head. And the situation that often comes up is there'll be one game out of 10 that I want, but the bundle is cheaper than buying the game directly on Steam. So it'll be like a $7 game, but 10 games including that one for $5 in the bundle. So it's like, well, I'll take the 9 free games and a $2 discount, obviously.
Yeah.
So, like, I have so many games, most of which I didn't even buy because I wanted them. They just came with the game that I did want.
And some of them have led me to find games that I've absolutely fucking loved. Like, the entire reason why I started playing the Yakuza series was because I got Yakuza, or I got, what is the Yakuza 7 full title? Like a Dragon, right?
Oh, right.
I got that one, so I ended up playing that one first. Found out that is not the first game in the series, not even close, and then got the previous games and started playing through those.
Well, yeah, I was surprised to find that Yakuza 0 was like meant to be played first. Like, I think we've discussed this. It's like, okay, I'll buy the entire series and then I'll start with Yakuza 0, even though it's like the 6th game in the series. I'll play that first and then go 1, 2, 3, 4. But I've only played 0, 1, and 2 so far.
Yeah,
I got distracted by other games. I'll go back to 3 at some point.
I've done 0, 1, 2, and I'm playing through 3. And then, because I didn't realize until after that, oh, this isn't the first one, I played Yakuza 7 as well.
Yes. Yakuza is an amazing series. I was very, very impressed with it. Some of the mini games, because I'm a completionist, I would like to get 100%, but some of the mini games I didn't enjoy. So it's like,
fuck the disco in 0.
What's that?
Fuck the disco in 0.
Yes, exactly. So there's a few of the mini game related things that I didn't bother with, but I got all the story and as much of the side missions as I could in 0, 1, and 2. I think 2 was the only one I got properly 100% because they made the mini game challenges a lot easier compared to the others.
Yeah, the darts in the first 2, it was just, okay, I'm throwing this at complete random. I don't feel like I have any control. And then 2 was when it was, oh, here's how I throw the goddamn darts. Now I can actually play this.
One of my favorite mini games was the Pocket Racer.
Oh, yeah.
That was so much fun.
Pocket Racer is a hell of a lot of fun. And in 7, it ends up coming back slightly, not in the same form, but kind of the same thought behind it, which is fun. Only you control the car,
okay,
rather than just kit it out and then go in. It's kind of like a mix of Pocket Racer and Mario Kart.
See, I kind of like that you don't control it. It means that like you're being judged purely on your design skills. Like you could have the best car in the world and fuck up, which I don't like from the sounds of things in 7, which I don't like. I like that this is a design challenge, not a driving challenge.
Fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I found that game just because it was in a bundle. Played 7, went, oh, this is awesome. And for those going, wait, how the fuck did he play 7 and not realize that the game that ends in 7 is not the first one?
It doesn't have 7 in the title.
Yeah, it doesn't have 7 anywhere in the title. It is Yakuza Like a Dragon.
And but if I remember, it doesn't. It has a different protagonist, doesn't it? They changed from TU.
So it has a different protagonist in it, but it is still connected to the overarching story of the Yakuza games.
I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah, so you get to run into characters that when I go back and I play the new game plus in that after beating all the others, suddenly things are going to make a fuck ton more sense.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting playing Yakuza 1, having played Yakuza 0, because I knew that Yakuza 0 was a prequel. So when I played 1, I had already played 0. And so I could see like a lot of the stuff in 0 that was a callback to Yakuza 1 was actually foreshadowing for me.
Yep.
It was like really cool.
And same thing with 2. Because the entire time when I was seeing Goda, I was just going, motherfucker was stealing pants, and did he ever stop stealing pants? Is he still stealing pants as he's trying to do all this shit?
It's I've got to say, I didn't feel as much of a connection to the villain in the second one. In 0, you were like going against like rival families in your own Yakuza clan.
Yep.
In the second one, you was like you're not your real brother, but like your friend that you treated as a brother, and like the second one, it was just some guy that I never felt that same attachment to.
See, the problem is you didn't immediately remember, playing Yakuza 0 and go, this is the kid that was stealing pants.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. I didn't
Because,
make the connection.
yeah, in Yakuza 0, the villain in Yakuza 2 is the kid that steals pants that you end up beating as Majima.
Because there's a lot of those side stories in the game. So, yeah, I didn't make the connection that that specific one was actually him.
Yeah, it was one of those, what the fuck? Because I thought it was weird that that character had so much backstory in Yakuza 0. Because you find out that, like, he's the adopted son of one of the major people in the Omi Alliance, and I'm going, okay, he's a side mission.
Yeah.
It's just a kid who kicked the shit out of people to steal their pants and really hated the Yakuza.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And then I get to Yakuza 2 and I go, oh!
It's him,
Motherfucker was stealing pants.
It's one of my favorite side missions. I can't remember if it was from 0 or 1. This kid, like this guy steals a video game, and like you go on a series of missions to beat up the guy he sold it to, and then in the end, it turns out that the guy who has it was going to give it to the original person as a present. It was like this big long chain of basically nothing. That if you hadn't intervened, would have ended up back in the original person's hands anyway.
Yeah. It's, again, one of those games that just has the perfect mix of humor as well as seriousness. Like, it's in, I want to say, Yakuza 1, where shit has just hit the fan as far as the story, and everything seems really dark. One character's been shot, another character has had the shit kicked out of them. Everything just seems to be going to hell. And then the little girl asks the main character, what's a soapland? And for those who don't know, soaplands in Japan are the quasi-legal form of prostitution. They're also sometimes called bubble houses, because prostitution is illegal in Japan. Flat out illegal. But you go to a soapland and you pay them to wash you.
Yes.
The fact that they have sex with you after washing you
That's
is
incidental.
just incidental. It's just something that happens. The girl was unbelievably attracted to you and decided, yes, I need to fuck this customer. It wasn't that you were paying for it. So it's the legal form. Even though everyone knows really what you're going for, it counts.
I think it would be funny if there was someone who like didn't know this and was like, oh yeah, I could use a bath. And they're like, you want to what, madam?
Yep. Just very offended.
Yeah.
Why do I have to choose who's bathing me? Does it really matter that much? Which one's really gentle?
It reminds me of in the Discworld series, seamstress is a euphemism for a prostitute, because the seamstress guild is actually the prostitute guild. But they actually get like a couple of naive people a month who like give them a pair of pants and just want it sewn up and fixed.
Nice.
It's like they live very confused.
Yeah, I do love the randomness of game bundles, though, because those give you some fantastic games that you would have never had before. And every now and then I'll find myself going, okay, I need just a game to kind of break up the current game series that I'm on, because I hit a point where I'm just getting pissed off and I need something else. And I'll pull up a different game, start dicking around in it, and I'll go, holy shit, this game's actually really fucking fun. And a game that I just pulled out as a de-stressor suddenly becomes the next game that I'm playing all the way through and making sure that I get the
See,
entire.
I have to be careful about doing that because I don't often go back to the original game when that happens. And so if I want to actually finish what I'm doing, I can't play too many games simultaneously. Otherwise, I'll just stop playing some of them. And then I'll just sort of like realize that I haven't played it in months and go, I'll just uninstall it. I'm not going to go back to it at this point.
See, I have. This happened a couple times with the Yakuza series where, like, the disco. I'd get pissed off at the disco and I'd go, okay, I just need to do anything else. I'd pull up another random game and I'd start playing it. And
I'm playing, 3 games at the moment, and I've already got to try and manage, make sure I don't neglect any of them too much. So,
nice.
Yeah. I mean, I've already sort of gone a couple of days without playing Hitman 3, so I've got to make sure I get back on that soon.
And Spittle Buggies says tailors seam pants, seamstresses stitch men.
There you go. And no, I haven't played The Room. I'm aware of it. I think I probably own the game. God knows I own everything else. But I haven't played it.
I haven't played that one yet. Like I said, one of the game series that I got addicted to is Yakuza, which is why we spent a fair bit talking about Yakuza already. Oh,
yeah.
And hello, Johnny. How goes?
Not too bad. It's oof.
Things quiet down finally.
For the most part, I just found out that my uncle and my cousin have come down with the sickness.
And never going to all the time.
Well, my mom sure is. Yeah, she's been going off on me for the last several weeks because I am the unclean. I think I'm like one of the only ones that isn't vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably going to have to be vaccinated at some point because my brother just had a kid. And so I think they're going to try and say, well, if you want to come see your nephew, you're going to have to get a jab. And it's like,
it's a pop quiz. I don't. No.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was going to be that you had to get it because of family, Terry, or if you would have to get it once the Australian police knocked on your door going, so we hear that you haven't had the jab yet.
Yeah, well, that probably would happen if it went long enough. But yeah, I think the other problem is my family lives in Victoria. I live in New South Wales, but they live in Victoria, and Victoria is like constantly locked down. So if I went down to visit, I don't know that I would be allowed out.
Yeah. Everything that I've been hearing from Australia when it comes to it, I'm just going, what the fuck?
And,
because it sounds like your country's lost its goddamn mind.
It really has. Mr. Yes says kids aren't born with COVID, babies can't get COVID. That is not relevant. If my family insists that access to said baby is contingent on me getting a vaccine, then my hand may end up being forced.
I just have to point out, that was the weirdest way of phrasing that. Access to said baby.
Well, I mean, other than photos on Facebook.
Well, it's not his. So.
Yeah, it's not mine.
But yeah, like I said, just everything I've been hearing from Australia is just absolute insanity recently.
Yeah, I was quite amused to see that the Premier of Victoria was caught without a mask, and like everyone's making a big deal, saying, oh, he's going to have to pay a fine. No, he's not.
It's rules for thee, not for me.
Exactly. And have you heard of Avi Yemeni, the guy that has been doing a lot of coverage of the stuff down here?
The name is familiar. I can't place a voice or face to the name.
Okay.
He's the guy that Jim Jeffries made himself look like a fucking moron over.
He's the guy that Jim Jeffries took out of context, and then Avi showed the footage that he took of the interview, which proved that Jim Jeffries took him completely out of context.
Damn.
So but yeah, he was starting a hashtag saying, Super Spreader Dan, I think, because the guy's name is Daniel Andrews. He's like Super Spreader Dan, and he sent a message to Victoria Police saying, "I hope you're going to treat this the same way you would anyone else." And the official reply was effectively, "We have no comment to make." So yeah, he's not getting a fine. He's not getting anything.
Yeah, I don't understand how people think that would be what happens with everything that we've seen since the start of this. I mean, fuck's sake. It's been in goddamn every country. The people that are the most, no, we need to lock everything down. We need to just weld people into their homes. That's the safest way. Have been the ones that in the UK, he drove from the south of the UK to the north or vice versa in order to fuck his mistress. In the US, we've had Nancy Pelosi getting her hair done, the French Laundry with Gavin Newsom. The Cuomo's just flagrant and constant disregard of their policies, as well as apparently just massive sexual misconduct with both of them.
It's I saw George Takei, the guy from Star Trek. He was saying on Twitter that he's reminded of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And so my reply to him, so fuck minorities. That's an interesting position, George. Because you could easily say, oh, boo-hoo, Mr. 13%, you need freedom. Well, the many, need the cotton picked, so get going.
Yeah, and for someone that has made his goddamn bones politically off the fact that, well, during World War II, I was put in an internment camp as well as a bunch of other Japanese Americans because it was deemed that we were a threat. And I'm going, okay, so first off, you're trying to make it sound like it was only Japanese Americans. Can you please tell me what happened to the Germans and the Italian Americans? Because do you guys happen to know? This is something that not many people seem to know about.
Well, I'm sure they were given a big party, welcomed with open arms.
There was a registry of all Italian and German Americans during World War II. Their movement was massively restricted. Their ability to do most things was massively restricted. And if they signed up for the war, they were always sent to the far ends of the war. So if you were an Italian or German, you were sent to the Eastern Front. If you were Japanese, you were sent to the Western Front. Because, yeah, they kept tabs on everyone that was thought to potentially be a foreign agent. So if you were first generation, second generation, German or Italian, you were on a registry. You were closely observed. Yeah, they tend to forget about that part as well.
Hmm.
They just act like, oh yeah, we just did this to the Japanese. No, motherfucker.
Well, I'm sure George has forgotten all about that because he seems quite willing to target minorities with his tweets.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm finding darkly hilarious about this is, you guys know the group in the United States that's least likely to get the jab, right?
I believe it's either black people or Mexicans. I know it's some minority group.
It's black people.
Right.
Because they're wary of the government. And anything that the government says is a free vaccination.
Mm-hmm. I heard about the experiments with syphilis and such.
Mm-hmm.
The Tusco G experiments.
The Tuskegee experiment, yep.
No, there was a TikTok. This gal brought up the Tusco G.
Yeah, I remember. That was fun.
That was
There's a reason I didn't try and say the name of the place and refer to it as experiments with syphilis.
Yep. And if it's tapping at a keyboard like a drunk kitty, there's only one cat on stream at the moment.
That is a fair point.
And I'm not drunk. I fly better when I've had a few.
My hands are nowhere near my keyboard, so it's not me.
Not drunk, just got into the catnip is what I'm hearing from Johnny over there. But yeah, the African American community is one of the least likely to get the jab because they have a history that does kind of encourage them to be wary of any free vaccination and medical treatment from the government.
I actually saw a really good video on YouTube where there's these two black guys, and they were basically calling out the hypocrisy of the left, saying, you understand why black people are skeptical of the government when it comes to police. You're all Black Lives Matter. You're all ACAB. You're all behind that. But as soon as it affects you, as soon as we're not doing what you want with this vaccine, all that goes out of the window. You don't understand why we're not getting the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, he's got a point.
Yeah, and the thing that's infuriating is that they keep on, while they're doing this shit where they will insist that everyone gets the vaccination, they'll also be trying to play both sides of a story in the most interesting fashion that I have seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
Where you guys heard about the New York restaurant incident, right?
Maybe. If you start telling me the details, I'll probably recognize it.
A large group of black people were going out to this specific restaurant in order to have dinner. Most of the members of their party, they showed up in several different waves for the dinner. So it was something like 3 showed up at first, then 3 additional came in, then 2, and then it was the last group of 3 was coming in. And the last group of 3 didn't have a vaccine passport or anything saying that they had been vaccinated or anything like that.
Terrible.
So they were told that they weren't allowed in by the Asian hostess.
Mm-hmm.
The Asian hostess then told them that, yep, they aren't allowed in. The rest of the party came up front, started causing problems. The Asian hostess said, unfortunately, due to the laws, you aren't allowed in. And if the rest of your party wants to leave with you, by all means, you may. But we can't let you in by law.
Yeah.
So this story has been reported on in two very different ways ever since it happened. Because what happens immediately after this point is the entire group starts assaulting this Asian hostess.
That's not good.
And they worked her over a fair bit. So one way that this is getting reported is that a racist hostess, who they never tend to mention the ethnicity of,
Convenient.
was hurling racial slurs at black patrons, and this caused a massive fight to happen, and the black people are now suing. So that's one way that they're spinning the story. The other way is that some of the people in this group, not the three people at the very end, but some of the people in one of the first two groups, were visiting from Texas.
Those bastards.
So it became Texans pissed at New York vaccine mandates, assault Asian hostess in racist attack.
Very clever.
And you have some media agencies reporting it one way, some media agencies reporting it the other.
I'm guessing none are actually reporting it honestly.
None of them are including all the different sides of this where, well, yes, there were Texans. They were all black people. And, well, there was an assault. It wasn't instigated by a racial comment, and it was an Asian hostess. Not a white hostess, as is often implied in the racial slurs hurled at patrons version of it.
Because I thought when you said the way it's being spun two ways, you were going to point out that this is simultaneously the most effective vaccine ever, that everyone who has it is under threat from under-vaccinated people. So it's like, is it effective, or are they under threat from unvaccinated people? Like, does it work or not?
Yeah, it's getting spun that way as well. But the specific story I was referring to is being spun as both racism towards the hostess, as well as racism towards the people that assaulted the hostess.
Yeah. Neither of them were being racist.
Well, sure as shit, the hostess wasn't being racist.
No.
There's reports that the other people might have been, because as they were assaulting her, several people claim that they were hurling racial epithets at her.
So, okay. Because I thought they would have been motivated by, the refusal to let...
They were, but they were motivated initially by that, but as I said, there's several reports saying that they were apparently hurling racial slurs at the Asian hostess after they started jumping in on her.
Okay, so they may have said racist things, but it doesn't sound to me like the assault was racistly motivated. It sounds like...
Correct.
It was motivated by the refusal to allow the people in, and then they may have just gotten racist afterwards for whatever reason.
Yeah, but that's where the story diverted immediately. And the agencies that were reporting it as racist Texans coming to New York and refusing to abide by New York laws, where they're always the ones saying, when in Rome, when it comes to going to a red state, look at these evil right-wing fucks. They don't ever want to acknowledge that these are black people that they're calling all that.
Well, they're not black people because they're wrong thinkers. Joe Biden made that very clear.
But the thing is that most of them are actually Democrats from everything that we've heard.
Well, then they're recently deconverted from blackness because no genuine black person would behave in such a way. That is very clear from the words of Mr. Biden.
It is self-averting blackness.
But it's just
The
absolute.
ones that go to vote Democrat but don't vote Democrat because they don't want to be the ones that are told that they wanted to vote Democrat, so they'll vote Republican just because someone told them to vote Democrat.
Those heathens.
And then there's Pat. That's all I wanted. That was all lead up to. And then there was Pat.
It's just absolutely infuriating because, like I said, they're trying to make it so that it's racism both ways.
Yeah.
Well, each side will not admit that the other side is a thing, and they're also not admitting what the racial group of the side that they aren't naming the racial group is.
I just had a thought. Has any publication run the story both ways and not actually let people know that it was the same incident?
I have not seen that happen as of yet.
Because that would be funny if they're like, these racist Texans beat up an Asian, and then they also run the story that this Asian was
this racist hostess. Racist hostess, rather.
Racist hostess was abusing the black patrons, and then just not tell anyone that it's the same story.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be awesome.
Listen, Rags, that is a fantastic idea Terry just gave you for free.
Yeah.
You should at least get a consulting fee. You can double the amount of bullshit that you print in one paper.
I know. I just assumed they were already doing.
Huh? But yeah, it's just absolutely fucking mental how everything's being spun recently. And it's not benefiting anyone. And racist Asian, a raisin.
I'm guessing Spittle has run into the YouTube censor bot because apparently most of the fights she's seen IRL have been between Books, Assens, Littner, mainly gang members.
Yep.
So hopefully you can decipher the code that she is writing in. I think I might have cracked it, but
I don't know. The Bulks and the Assassins really don't like each other, so it's kind of.
And are you sure that it's Litna? Because it could be that that's a capitalized I rather than a lowercase l, so it's Itnas.
Oh,
those goddamn Itnas.
Oh, those are the worst.
Ah. Everyone hates the Itnas.
Especially the Assens.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the Books.
Yeah. The Assens and the Bulks, they absolutely hate the Itnas.
This is such a dumb joke.
All of these sound like they should actually become racial slurs, though.
That would be great.
All racial slurs come from misspelled words.
Well, I mean, Latinx is a racial slur, and yeah, that's basically a misspelling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially if you go by the Chinese one.
That is one of my favorite jokes. I when I dropped that on I think it was Scribe or Satsu, I can't remember. He's like stopped. He looked at it and he's like, Chinex, and then he just I think it was Satsu. He just looked at it and goes, Chinex, because he didn't want to say it the way that I had obviously intended.
You know?
He probably sounded it in his head and he's like, oh, you bastard.
And Spittle, I absolutely understand the YouTube bot hates me as well.
Oh, me too.
I found out that I was trying to super chat someone, and for some reason, "It's My Time to Shine" was censored.
Well, I remember one time Pete got censored because he said something like, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen," in a super chat. Like, he was just like saying hi, and he just wanted to throw Monkey some money. And he couldn't because YouTube deemed it offensive for whatever reason. I'm sure Pete remembers the exact wording better than I do, but yeah, that sort of jumped out at me. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like I said, "It's My Time to Shine" got censored. And I know it was "It's My Time to Shine" because I changed every other portion of the super chat, thinking that it was some other portion. And then at a certain point, I just went, you know what? Fuck it. Deleted like the first part, which was literally just "It's My Time to Shine." And it sent.
Well, I made reference to brown pants once, and it didn't let me to send that. So by the time I was able to get the super chat through, the joke would have already been dead.
Yeah, I hate that.
And I'm like, well, I'm done.
Well, I actually tagged Scribe in a tweet saying YouTube owes you $5 because I would have super chatted this, but it wouldn't let me.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we all found out that Monkey's name was censored.
Yeah. And for a while, honk in any context was auto-censored for the Clown World meme.
Is it still censored?
I don't think so. I think they removed it. But for a while, you could not use honk in any context. You could say, "It scares me when geese honk at me," and you couldn't send that. The word honk, flat banned for a while.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, I just remembered this because I've heard about it through various channels having a laugh at it. So Fortnite apparently decided to do a Martin Luther King thing.
Oh, yes.
And they immediately had to censor all emotes except for the ones that they had made specifically for that event.
Well, actually, no, because there was an event running at the time with like Star Wars or something. So they had to allow those emotes as well because of the... because of the part of the contract that they signed with Disney was that, these emotes, like, they have to be
usable everywhere.
Yeah, and one of the emotes was a cracking whip.
Oh, nice.
That's amazing.
So you had a bunch of people doing the whip crack animation while watching the Martin Luther King thing in Fortnite.
That is beautiful.
It really is.
But yeah, they had to censor that, and they found out that they had to censor that. I can't remember what. I want to say it was a BLM thing was done earlier, and everyone in Fortnite was apparently chucking tomatoes at the
I heard about that too.
Which, I'm not going to lie, that does give me hope for the future.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of when, Shio gathered up a bunch of cotton in 7 Days to Die and just handed it to Satsu. I can't remember if it was cotton or cotton seeds, but he's like, but either way, he's like got a whole bunch of them and just handed them to Satsu, and Satsu was like not thinking of the implication there, and he's like, "Oh, thanks. I don't know what I'll do with these, but I'll put them aside, thanks." And then Monkey is like, "You didn't just do that." And then Satsu's like, "Oh, okay, I'm with you."
You motherfucker. Yeah, I've said it before, but the thing that actually makes people come together, there's two things that I think really are able to unite people. One is an outside force that scares the shit out of both of them so that they have to work together. That unites people. And the other thing that really unites people is being able to just rip the piss out of each other and laugh.
Yeah.
And it is infuriating that people are trying to cripple the second one.
They'll have a hard time getting me to stop laughing at things.
Mm-hmm. We need to go back to the days, though, where it would just be ripping the shit out of everyone.
Yes.
Just whether you're white, black, yellow, purple, pink, I don't give a shit. I'm going to make fun of you, motherfucker.
I made a really dumb joke on Twitter, and now everyone is like liking the reply to my joke, where it's just this guy looking at me is like, really?
Nice.
So like someone said, this new video game is sick, meaning that it's really good. And I said, well, you better get it tested then. This is what happens when video games don't get vaccinated. And
Nice.
they just posted a picture of this black guy just looking very unimpressed, dead at the camera. And it's like, really? And no one's liking my tweet, but everyone's liking the reaction to it. And I'm taking that as likes by proxy.
Yeah, I would as well. Because that's just laughing at the straight man's reaction to the absurd.
Yes.
Well, if you think about it, it's not necessarily the joke that you're laughing at. It's the response.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And if the response is something like that, oh yeah, that's where you want to go.
Like, one of the best reactions I ever got to a joke was I was playing board games with some friends, and the guy goes, "Oh shit, I think we're in dire straits now." And I said, "Well, we should do the Walk of Life." And he just gave me the biggest death glare. Is like, "Oh fuck you." And like, I consider that like the greatest reaction to a joke I've ever gotten. Is just the really, you fucking said that.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that I used to do with my best friend all the time, we haven't done it in a little bit, but we're probably going to before too much longer, just knowing us, is the competition of trying to get the other one to say, "You can't say that," while laughing our asses off.
Yeah.
It's always something ridiculously fucked up.
Oh, of
every
course.
single time.
I mean, I consider that to be part of the point of Quippers United is let's just see what fucked up shit we can say and Jack still have a channel.
Yep. And another one of my favorite reactions is back from high school, just bullshitting around. If you're able to say something that is retarded and absurd at the same time, completely straight, that just makes comedy gold. So,
oh, yeah.
Playing the Mario Kart game where it was 2 players per car.
Mm-hmm.
One was in back, one was driving. The one
Double
in back
dash.
actually, yes, double dash. It was that one. So I was playing the weapons guy in the back, actually throwing out everything. And it's 4 of us getting really into the game, getting kind of intense, talking shit back and forth. The driver says, "Here you go, fire at will." And I said, "Okay, which one's Will?" And
I like that joke. And anyway, we've got Will on stream with us right now. He's just not wearing his glasses.
Nice. But yeah, it's shit.
I'm not falling for that trap, Terry.
Shit like that's a classic. Just like the "Surely you can't be serious, I am."
I was waiting for you to bring that up because I could tell that that's where you were going.
Yep. Because those movies were great just because every joke was given with the utmost severity.
Yeah, and it's why people who don't understand that principle fuck the joke up. Like, if you try and tell it in a joking way, then people think you're trying to be funny, and that joke, as a joke, is not funny. It's only funny if it's said deadly serious, and like you're like, wait, what did he say?
Yeah. It's one of those jokes that you can't have the
Exactly. Yeah. Because
like,
as a joke, the pun is pretty weak.
Yep.
But the way Leslie Nielsen delivers it, deadly serious, and doesn't stop to reflect on it. It just keeps going. That's what makes it funny. It's the contrast between the ridiculousness of what he's saying and the severity with which he says it.
Mm-hmm. Just like the, can anyone speak jive? Chill, man, I got this.
Pardon me, I speak jive.
Yeah. The old woman just starts speaking jive and translating what's being said back.
I thought about because I was thinking about like premises for movies, because I had a bit of a stretch where I would write trailers for movies that I had come up with in my head. And then just, it would be like, if it's something I picked up on, I would have at least, something to work on, like just like a base idea. And one of them, there was a black character, and he's got to be black because for the purpose of the thing, and his name is Yo.
Nice.
Where that's the only thing that he would say is just different inflections of the word yo. And the only one who could understand him is the main character, who would happen to be white, and kids. So anyone like under 10 would be able to understand what he's talking about. And like everyone's talking about it, is like the way I explained it to my friends, I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't know. Everyone's just like, everyone's so worried about what this guy's thinking. And he just sort of goes, yo. And they're like, oh yeah, I totally understand that. And then they'll just go off in the thing, and they're just like, what the fuck did he even say?
He said, yo,
that'll never work. Are you insane? Oh yeah, that's a good point.
It's like that. It's like the dude scene in basketball.
It's there was a YouTube channel called was it something about the internet, We the Internet or something like that. And he's like doing a sketch about these like black actors who they really enjoyed their job, where they would get hired to say one thing, and like that was their entire job. And then like with all the pressure to like elevate black voices, now they're acting in roles and they can't do it because their whole career has only been devoted to shouting one catchphrase. So it's like the guy who goes, damn. And then like he expects that to be it. He's done for the movie. And they're like, go on. He's like, damn. He like doesn't know what to do.
I just had the image of both the damn guy as well as the what? Okay.
I remember one of them was a black woman who goes, oh no, he didn't. And that was like the one line that she said. There was a guy who said
the head swivel, right?
Yeah.
You need the head
and I think she even snapped the fingers.
Yeah. You need the Z snap and the head swivel.
But one was damn, and I forget what the third one was, but there were like these three actors, and they're playing it deadly serious. It's like we had a good career as one-line actors, but now with the pressure to elevate black voices, some of us are struggling.
Yeah. I wish that people would realize again that comedy, you need that severity when you're delivering comedy in order for it to really land. I mean, there's examples that are still doing it now, but so few are. And I did see that, to respond to something that Pete said, I did see that Chappelle has a new special. I haven't seen the new special yet. I saw one of the adverts for it, which I found hilarious in and of itself.
Yeah, the trailer for it is actually funnier than the series. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it's
all I've seen from it is the part that everyone keeps quoting on Twitter, where he says that he's Team Turf. That's it. That's the only part of the special I've seen.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen any of it yet. Not even the part that you just referenced. The only thing that I saw was the advert, which was Dave Chappelle driving a truck with Morgan Freeman narrating.
Cool.
And
that's I think the second trailer is when Morgan Freeman was narrating also.
Yep.
But yeah, it's kind of a continuation on that.
Yeah, it's Morgan Freeman narrating as Dave Chappelle's driving, and he's just going really like, one can only imagine the immense stress that he's under trying to come up with the best way to cap off such a prolific comedic career. How could he ever show up his previous performances? How will he ever be able to leave out on something other than just abject failure? It looks like he's going to say something. Never mind. It looks like he's going to say something. Never mind. And it just does that a bunch of times. And then Dave Chappelle, Morgan, can you shut the fuck up? Sorry, Dave.
It's like, you shut up, Morgan Freeman. And then Morgan Freeman's in the passenger seat like, sorry, man.
And that, when I saw that advert for it, it made me chuckle, which gave me hope. But yeah, there's other people that have been able to get that, like all of the Coronetto Trilogy do that perfectly. Everyone here, of course, knows what the Coronetto Trilogy is, right?
Sorry, I missed that.
The Coronetto Trilogy.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and The End of the World.
Okay, I've heard of those movies. I didn't know that there was a name for the three of them.
Yep, the three of them together are the Coronetto Trilogy. And it's because all three of them at some point include the Coronetto cone.
Like the ice cream?
Yes, the ice cream. That's how they named it. Yes, at the end, at World's End. That's the proper name of it. Sorry, my mistake. At World's End. But yeah, the three of them together are the Coronetto Trilogy because they all include the ice cream cone, and all of them are roughly about an apocalypse of a sort.
Okay, the only one of those I've seen is Shaun of the Dead, and it was okay. It didn't live up to the hype for me.
Fair enough. But those three movies do the seriousness with the jokes rather well. I didn't really find them going for, this is a joke, eh?
Yeah.
It was just played dead straight.
One of the jokes I remember, which I thought was quite good, was one of the guys says, "The next time I see you, mate, you're dead." And he got killed and turned into a zombie. And the next time he saw him, he was in fact dead. And I thought, that's kind of clever. That's because they didn't call attention to it. There's just sort of like, it just happened. And if you're paying attention, it's like, hey, he predicted that sort of.
Yeah, there's a bunch of great jokes in all of them. All of them are delivered, unless the character is supposed to be really bad at comedy, all of them are delivered completely straight. Like the one that most people probably know from the adverts and just passing with Hot Fuzz is Yarp. There's just a guy. there's a guy who the only thing he says is "yarp,"
Oh, okay. I haven't
and
seen
everyone
it.
just treats it like, "Yep, that's perfectly normal." And then at a certain point, they knock out that character, and someone tries to call him, and the answer to the question is a no. And the main characters are just looking at each other like, what the fuck do we say? Oh, he just says yarp. And he just picks up the phone. Narp. And the other guy just goes, oh, okay, that's understandable. Here's what you need to do. Just takes it completely in stride.
Yeah.
And it's shit like that that makes those fantastic. I thought it was yarp, not yarb. Are you sure that it's yarb?
Jack is gunning for you, Sanguine. He's not happy.
And I'm almost positive that he's wrong in this case.
I mean,
I do
Jack
give
would be
him
surprised.
at World's End, because I always confuse that, and there's another pub that is the end of the world. So at World's End is one pub, the end of the world is another pub. Let me double check. I'm double checking that because I always remember it as Yart.
I mean, they're fairly similar sounds. The P and the B. It could be easy for either of you to mishear it.
And it is Yarp. Not Yarb, okay. Yarp.
So Jack is 1-1. He got the name of the movie right, but the word incorrect in this case.
Yep. Or as the character would say, Yarp. But yeah, when a comedy can get that right balance of serious and humor, it is fucking beautiful. Just so many comedies now try to do just reference humor and reference humor. If you want your comedy to have the shortest of fucking shelf lives imaginable,
yep,
fill it with reference humor.
Well, I remember. Have you played the game The Bard's Tale? Like the modern, I shouldn't say modern, but the more recent one, not the ones from the 80s.
I have not played the more recent one.
So most of it is pretty funny, and then all of a sudden, for no reason, they do a reference to a movie, and I can't even remember which one it was, but like it's a movie that was like popular at the time. It's like they do a big dance, and it's like you got played or something. I don't know, or and like playing it like again recently is like, oh, that was a movie or something, I think. And like, it's just meaningless. Whereas, the rest of the jokes were just parodying like common tropes in fantasy games. And those are still funny. There's just this one reference. Oh, you got served, I think it is, they said. And like the rest of the game is funny. And then all of a sudden they do this weird reference. It's like, the fuck was that?
Yeah. And you can have references to things that will last. Like, you can have references to Casablanca, for instance. And people can see it now, and they'll still have some vague, oh yeah, he's referencing that thing, and it can be funny. But if it's to something that will not last, it just dates the ever-living shit out of it. There's a bunch of different comedies that have references to other films and other books and shit like that, that when they're actual works that will last, they don't become dated by that reference.
Well, I think it depends on the timing as well. Like, in the 40s, making a reference to Casablanca, I think would be a dumb thing to do. In the 2020s, you already know Casablanca has survived the test of time. So
Yeah,
it's
you
a
have to
safe
give it,
to
like,
reference.
at least 10, 15 years.
Yeah, no, like that's my point. Is like if you were in the 40s making a movie that has a reference to Casablanca is probably not a great idea. If you're in the 2020s, it's safe to say most people are aware that Casablanca exists and know some of the more quotable lines from it. Like even if very few people have seen it, they know of it. It's like a cultural touchstone. It's like it's safe to reference.
Yeah. And if you get that right, it doesn't get aged by the reference. And it is definitely, you need at least, I'd say probably bare minimum would be 5, but really you're looking at that 10, 15-year gap.
I'd probably go 15 more than 10. I think that's the point where it's like, okay, now it's clearly survived the test of time. I think, yeah. If something is still popular 15 years after the fact, it's safe to say it survived.
Or at the very least, still in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily still have to be popular at that point. It just has to be something that people will be able to go, oh, yeah, that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's...
Yeah,
okay.
I think Casablanca is bulk and white.
Casablanca's what, sir?
Bulk and white.
Yes.
Like Spittle Buggies is saying here.
Yes. Casablanca is black and white. It is a black and white film starring Humphrey Bogart.
That's pretty much all I know about it, except for like a handful of lines from it. Because I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, one of the lines that you know probably isn't actually a line from it. Because
another cut by... What was that?
Okay. You first.
No, yeah, sorry. There was a spurt of traffic, so I missed what you said.
Oh, I said that one of the lines that you hear from it probably actually isn't, because it's one of those movies that, just like in the Luke, I am your father, that everyone knows that line. That line at no point appears in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what line it is from Casablanca that everyone knows.
I think Play It Again, Sam is the one that didn't actually appear in the movie.
Let me quickly check. It might be...
I think Play It Again, Sam was the name of like a book that was written about it or something like that. And he never actually says those words in that order. He says, you know, if you can play it for her, you can play it for me, or play it again without mentioning his name. But he never says Play It Again, Sam.
And I can't tell if Czech is saying that that is what it is, or if Czech is just trying to meme on a oft-quoted line. Let's see. And
other than the for the title, I'm gonna post this in chat. I saw those guys. They were called. It's a band called Radke, and I took my youngest to see Flogging Molly and John Snodgrass.
Nice.
A town over, and they'd actually heard. It was my youngest's first concert. And he had actually heard them, you know, on the radio all the time. I'm like, it'll be completely different. You'll see it in person. It's a whole different experience. And they added Radke, I think, the week before to the thing. So I didn't even know that they were going to be performing. I just this three-person band who just popped up in the middle of all this thing. And The funny part is my youngest, as we were walking towards the show, because you're supposed to go around into the front, and then that's where you go in. And he sees this guy standing in the back door smoking a cigarette, and he just sort of beelines towards the back door. He's like, I'm gonna go this way. Fuck that shit. So I'm like, whoa, no, you can't go that way. That's that's where the bands go in. You can't really just jump in there. And we see a guy there, and he's just smoking a cigarette, just watching. And so we end up having to go, when we get to the front, we end up having to go to the back of this really long line. And all of a sudden we hear, he's just like, oh, where the fuck's the door? And then we turn around, and John Snodgrass is walking through everyone, trying to find his way into the venue.
Nice.
And because there's a lot of doors between where he was and where he was supposed to be. And he took a wrong turn somewhere. And because I was so focused on, because his blood sugar started to crash. And I'm like, oh, great, I'm trying to keep his blood sugar up while paying attention to what's going on around me. And yeah, I missed a couple opportunities to actually get a picture outside with John Snodgrass.
Oh, that sucks.
But we get in, and the Red Key starts performing, and it's these it's three brothers, which I only found out like yesterday, that they're all related, and they're it's an extremely good band. Like I really like their stuff. When he started singing, I was like, you don't sound like a black guy. I would almost think that if I had not seen them before me, that I would have thought it was the lead singer from what the hell's that band called? Queens of the Stone Age. Because he's got that kind of delivery. And so we get through Red Key. Kids are still they're loving the show. And my youngest is starting to get tired. He's like, okay, I'm kind of just burnt out on people, because he's packed. He's autistic, so it's really he's holding it well. So just because there's so many people around, and he kind of just sits. He leans up against the wall, and he's kind of just exhausted. His blood sugar's back down again. I got a whole thing of Capri Suns and juices and candy in the thing just to keep his blood sugar going. And this girl comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Well, hello." And he kind of just hams it up like, "Yeah, we're fine." And I'm like, and she's just like, "Oh, do you need any help?" And I'm just like, "Well, I could use a little." And he just sort of looks at me and goes, "Okay, I'm going to deliver this to you, and then I'm going to take it away." Immediately, as she's starting to feel his forehead, and she's getting really kind of attentive into it. And this is a really good looking chick. And he just beefs it right there, just loud enough to where she heard it over the band. And I'm like, you really do hate me, you really do hate me, don't you? And he just starts like he just gets this smile on his face, like he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he's just like, oh, I'm gonna lower in, and then I'm gonna just cut this part here, and it's gonna be funny for me. Alone, what I don't give a shit what you guys are doing. Like, and so yeah, I was like, man, I will smother you with a pillow tonight.
Glorious.
Because she's just like, oh, you're so no, you got this, you're good. And I'm like, oh man, why do you hate me?
Just that moment of, oh, adorable. Oh my God.
He's an anglerfish with gas.
You ripped ass like you're a trucker.
It's like, no, it was that. And then, yeah, we got through, I think we got through at least Drunken Lullabies through Flogging Molly before he's just like, nope, I've had it. I'm done.
That's a shame. Flogging Molly's good.
Yeah. And
but I do like the name. It's a cool name.
Every time they've actually been back in town or in the state, because it's the song that it's a favorite of his. It's Float. He really likes that song, and I actually learned to play it for him after he got life lighted to up to Kalispell for he had a severe, really severe diabetic ketoacidosis to the point where his blood sugar was 1,058.
Damn.
Which I wasn't even sure that was a thing. Like,
yeah, the numbers normally don't go that high.
Yeah, they told us that 400 was high.
Yep.
And that's understandably high. But damn near 1,100, I wasn't expecting that. So that was.
Yeah. And I'm willing to bet that just like when I had my time in a helicopter, he doesn't remember a bit of it, does he?
The only thing he remembers is getting ready to go to the hospital in his hometown.
Yep.
He wakes up and he's in a completely different town, in a completely different hospital, surrounded by people he has no idea. Who the fuck are you guys?
Yeah, for me, I've mentioned this on stream before, but I'm not sure if you were around when I talked about this. I was a very sickly child when I was younger. I had the temperature regulation part of my brain was on the fritz. I'm pretty sure that it is still somewhat on the fritz, which is why my body can handle cold temperatures that most people should not be able to. And by cold temperatures, most people should not be able to. I mean, when it hits negative 18, I put on a windbreaker and I'm good to go. And I remain good to go until negative 60 wind chill.
Okay, yes, you're broken.
Mine was kind of like that too, actually. It was funny because like the mail would come and it's like negative 30 outside with the wind chill. Yep. And they're like, hey, you want to go get the mail? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go. And I'll just put my shoes on and I'll be wearing like just nothing but a t-shirt and boxer shorts.
Yep.
And I'll just wander out, go check the mail, flip through it, close the mailbox and come back in. And they're just like, aren't you cold? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I have messed up temperature regulation part, but when I was younger, it was a big problem because you know how your body's supposed to cap a fever?
Yeah.
So like round 101, 102, if it's a really bad fever, 103, your body goes, okay, that's high enough.
See, to me, I know Celsius, so it sounds like your blood is literally boiling.
So let's see, for Celsius, let me quickly punch what that would be in Celsius. One.
So 104, 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy. That's a pretty big fever.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, I think 37 is where it's meant to be, normal. And then if it's, 43, did you say? That's way over.
So a 101 would be 38.33.
Yep.
And then the 104 is around the 40 mark.
Yep.
Jesus. Yeah.
So that's where your body's supposed to cap it, that 101 to 103 if it's a really bad fever. So my body didn't. So what would happen is my body would just I'd get a fever, and my fever would hit 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108 Cs. And the worst time, it went up to about 112, which 110 is 43 degrees C for you,
Jesus.
Terry.
That's a brutal fever.
Yeah. That's when your brain starts cooking.
Yeah.
If it's a sustained temperature of a bit less than that, in fact, it starts cooking. Yeah, my highest temperature was about 112, which that would put this at, let me quickly double check. Yep, it would put it at about 44 to 45 degrees C.
So let me guess, you weren't a Spurg until they cooked your brain?
I know, I was a Spurg before that, I'm willing to bet. But yeah, my fevers would literally cook my brain to the point, or would just keep on climbing to the point where my body would end up completely shutting down.
Jeez.
And by completely shutting down, I mean respiratory stopped, heart function a couple times stopped.
So you should tell your body that you kind of need those. Those are important.
Yeah, effectively it was, I would have a febrile seizure, a seizure induced by fever, and then my body would completely shut down. It would have to be restarted and then maintained after the restart. So the worst time of this was I got life flight from where I was to the largest children's hospital of the region, because there was not a ventilator that was a sufficiently small size for me at the time.
Well, you somehow managed to tell your body to, get its act together. Sort of start letting you live instead of dying.
Yeah, it was something that scared the shit out of my parents.
I'll bet.
My mom at one point was told that if, due to not any sort of parental intent in this, but just due to absolute goddamn incompetence of my father, she was told by the doctor that I had at the time that if she wanted to have a living child, never leave me alone with my father. Because my father did not know how to resuscitate, and my mother at several points had to provide CPR until such time as EMS and hospitals could come into play. Otherwise, I would have died. But yeah, my body just kind of outgrew that habit, and now I can cap a fever. But I think the temperature regulation part of my brain is still on the fritz, because once it hits 68 degrees, it's a bit warm for me. And I can literally go and sit in meat lockers.
Yeah, you're broken. There's no other word for it.
Yeah.
No, I had a fever of 104 one time, and I tried to call off because it's not a suitable temperature to be doing anything.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I got this fever, I can't come in, and they're like, well, we have no one to work the shift, so you have to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, if I'm coming in, I'm not doing anything. Like, I am doing jack shit. So I came in, and fortunately it was cold enough outside so that it kind of like kept my temperature at bay.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it was too cold to I was too cold. I was so hot that I needed to have a coat on because it was too cold to keep a coat. Too cold. I was too cold and I needed a coat. But the longer I kept the coat on, the more miserable I got because I was too hot. So it's like, you have to put the coat on, take it off, put the coat on, take it off.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got in, I had my hood over because I was freezing my balls off. I put my coat on and I'm like, sorry guys, but if you guys hear anything, I'm not feeling all that hot, so I hope you don't mind. I'm not doing shit. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I took my coat off, and apparently I was like white as a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, how are you even here? Like, because no one wants to fucking work the shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think I sat in the dark. Like, I had all the lights turned off. I watched, I think Lucky Number 11 like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really the only cleaning that I did besides, the clients I was working with at the time, but I would take a bottle of Clorox cleanup, just walk to a toilet and then just spray it and then walk away. Like, so. Like, I didn't even wipe it up. I just let it sit there. And it was just like, I don't care. I'm not doing it. Like, I'll get everyone up. I'll clean them. I'll change them if I need to. But I will be doing nothing else. Mm-hmm. And I got there and I told them, like, I'm sorry. I got this. I got as much as I could done with what I had. And they're just like, dude, you look like death warmed over.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was like, yeah, I feel like death warmed over. And I technically stole client medications, Tylenol.
Understandable in this instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that your worst experience being sick?
That's my worst experience being sick and having to go to work with it. Because, yeah, they're like, the guy's like, yeah, you can't, you have to come in. I'm like, I can't. Why? Like, I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 experiences, and I can't decide which one's my worst one when it comes to being sick that I can actually remember. So, discounting the times when I was too young to actually form memories, also the fact that when brain shut down, you don't get memory. But the 2 worst times that I can remember being sick were 2 days after an inguinal hernia surgery, I got the stomach flu. I can only describe what that's like as... So, inguinal hernia, or inguinal hernia, is the hernia that's down near your crotch. And what a hernia is it's your intestine, or that type of hernia. It's your intestine pokes through the muscle that's supposed to hold it.
Mm.
It's like bloat for dogs.
Yep. So what they did for the surgery was they pushed it back to the proper side and then stitched that muscle shut, and then stitched everything on the way out as they were coming back out of stitching that muscle shut. So I get stomach flu 2 days after surgery, and every time I throw up, it feels like I'm about to just rocket my intestine across the room through an incision slightly above and to the left of my crotch.
That sounds unpleasant.
Oh, it was horrendous. Because, like I said, stomach flu. So every couple of minutes, it's the pain. Like the goddamn scene from Team America.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live that in real life.
Yeah.
That sounds nasty.
Then the other time that is right up there in how miserable it was with that is, have either of you ever become so dehydrated your body cannot take water?
I don't think so.
Johnny,
Not
have you
to-
ever reached that point?
Not to my knowledge.
So, this is something that not many people realize, but your body can become so dehydrated that when you try to consume water, your stomach spasms, causing you to throw up. I became that dehydrated once.
You got to stop doing things that are like horrible to yourself.
This was not intentional. This was after just like a really bad string of circumstances where I had like a bad bit of squid, which that was weeks of just hell, and then got better from that, but then had my allergies just start kicking my ass as I got another sickness just from being run down. And it was just all those things stacked up in so short order. Just reached the point where I was completely dehydrated. And I didn't realize I was until I was in college at the time. So I went to breakfast at the school cafeteria, had my breakfast, had a decently sized breakfast, got up, went back to my dorm room, and as I was going back to my dorm room, decided I needed to hit the restroom, fill up a cup of water or something like that. And then I just suddenly have this cramp of my stomach. So I run into the stall, throw up, go to the sink, fill up the cup that I had for water just to kind of cleanse my mouth of that taste. So swallow a bit of water, think I'm good, have to throw up, swallow, have to throw up, swallow, have to throw up. And then I realize after like the fourth time of swallow, immediately have to throw up, oh shit. This is dehydration. This isn't... Oh, fuck. Because at that point I realized there was no way for me to hydrate to the point where I would get out of dehydration. And in fact, every attempt to hydrate would just cause me to become even more dehydrated. Frosted glass at Terry Diamantis. All right, Sanguine's had his turn. Now you guys talk about your crotches, or how your crotches are doing. Fantastic, man. But-
So how did you get rehydrated? Did they have to put you on like a drip or something? Or?
so I was getting progressively weaker as this happened. Each time that came back up, I ended up having to go to the hospital, and I had 2 liters of fluid put into me. And after 2 liters of fluid, I was finally able to piss, and I was finally able to consume liquid without throwing up.
Both good things to be able to do.
Yeah, and then due to the hospital being fairly packed just due to shit that was happening that day, it was a hospital in a city, so shit was going on. I ended up having to be released from the hospital with the, if you end up throwing up as you're trying to continue hydrating, come back and we'll put more fluid in you. Until then, we need this bed. So I got turned loose and just told to drink as much water as I possibly could.
Well, I'm increasingly convinced that has never happened to me. So no, I have not been that dehydrated in my life.
Oh yeah,
Because what you described has not happened to me.
It is absolutely miserable.
I'm not surprised.
Because I just told you how I don't get cold.
Yeah.
That was one of the few times I was cold. And I don't just mean like, oh, I'm a bit chilled. I was shivering. And also, I'm a fairly strong, hale and hearty person. By fairly strong, I mean, I can do a rack pull of 600 pounds.
Does the girl mind you pulling on a rack that hard?
I can, God damn it. I can bench press 300 pounds at 50 reps a set. That's not 15, 1-5. That's 50 reps a set.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the point where I couldn't really stand because I was so weak when that happened. Unbelievably draining.
Yeah. I think you may be invincible. It sounds like life has tried very hard to kill you, and you have just not let it.
Well, I died 4 times. It just didn't stay that way.
That's my point. Is like they keep trying to kill you, and he's like, no.
It's that game in Trivia Murder Party with like that little sliver of you get to live.
Oh yeah, the wheel of death or whatever it is.
Yeah. That little sliver every time.
Slowly get immune.
Yeah, Frosted was saying he hasn't thrown up in 21 years, and I was just saying I haven't tracked my vomiting history, so I don't know how long it's been since I threw up. It's been a long time. I couldn't guess a number.
That's not only impressive that it's been that long, but it's impressive that he knows that it's been that long.
I was going to say, but he then clarified the only reason he knows is that it was New Year's on the year 2000, and so that made it easy to remember. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I used to back when back in my skater days, I used to down just a gallon of water, and then I would go close to where close to the skate park where there's a bunch of people who were just hogging and loitering around, and I would just throw up the water that I drank because it was there, and I was able to actually force it out. And they're like, "Man, I'm not hanging around with this," and I'm like, "All right." Just cleared up the park for us.
God damn.
And my friend's like, you really shouldn't do that. And I'm like, well, they got rid of them.
That is one way of handling things. Speaking of drinking a gallon of something, that just reminded me of when I played football, I would consume an ungodly amount of fluid during a football game. And what I mean by an ungodly amount of fluid is, first quarter, drink a gallon of Gatorade. Second quarter.
Just to clarify, we're not talking about the coach behind the bleachers making you swallow a large quantity of fluid.
No.
Yeah, close your eyes and I'll give you some Kool-Aid.
I was proper starter. I didn't need to do any shenanigans. But I would drink a gallon of Gatorade first quarter. I'd drink a gallon of water second quarter, a gallon of Gatorade third, a gallon of water fourth. And I would still be like 10 to 20 pounds lighter at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Just due to dehydration and burning through reserves. Or not dehydration, really, but just burning and sweating.
I think you need a new body. There's too much wrong with your current one.
No, my body's fantastic. It just has a very interesting history.
I think you need to upgrade.
It had the nasty habit of, in order for it to get injured, either it would have to injure itself, or it would have to have at least one person spend their body to injure it. Though I am, at some point, when it becomes possible, going to start augmenting. I've said this before, and I'll say it again until such time as it happens. My left leg and left arm are getting swapped out the moment that they have augmentations that are full sensory and are as strong and as fast as my current limb.
It's going to be automatal sanguine.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'd get robot eyes. When they become available, I want robot eyes because my eyes are fucked and I'd like to be able to see better. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd do a lot better at video games if I had robot eyes.
Probably. Though, are you also going to get robot fingers in order to better interact with your video games?
Well, I mean,
you could just plug them into yourself and then you can just play in your brain.
Yeah, that would be too. No, I would get robot hands eventually if something like happened to mine, but like my eyes are fucked, so it makes sense to replace them. There's nothing wrong with my hands. If something went wrong with my hands, I would more than happily replace them with robot hands to further improve my video gaming potential. But I'm not quite at the point of replacing perfectly functional and healthy body parts yet.
See, I've already decided the order of swapping my limbs. I've decided the points at which I will. Like, it'll have to reach beyond my current thresholds in order for me to swap my right arm and right leg.
Yes, cool.
And also, I am a very firm proponent on no open loop neural augments.
Yes, that makes sense.
All neural augments have to be closed loop. Because I don't want some son of a bitch being able to hack my brain.
That would be terrible, yes. I think I would actually leave my brain alone. Like, if I changed my brain, I wouldn't be me anymore. Like, I don't care so much about my body, but changing my brain, that's changing my personality, my identity to a degree that I wouldn't be comfortable with.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't augment my brain in the active functions. It would be more the passive, like making a backup of my memories. I would count as augmentation. And
That's okay then. That's fine.
increasing storage capacity type deal.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff is okay. It's just, yeah, I wouldn't want to alter the way I think or the way I, you know, see the world in not like in the visual sense, in the like, you know, in the metaphysical sort of how I perceive the world. I wouldn't want to change any of that.
Yeah, I would maintain every part of my brain that is the me parts. So my thought routines, all that stuff,
Yeah.
I would maintain. The side factors, like I said, the having additional storage space effectively. I have absolutely no problem with increasing storage space.
Yeah, I mean that sort of stuff is okay. Though I think it's funny, like some people are a lot more attached to their physical bodies than I am. Like I was talking to my mum about, like I've read this thing about, you know, teleportation, but what they actually do is disintegrate you and then recreate you at the destination, like a sort of sci-fi thing. And she's like, "Oh God, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be me anymore." And like because she associates herself as her physical body, whereas for me, my physical body is just the container for myself, and I don't care about altering it.
For me, it's all a matter of if my consciousness continues, then I'm happy.
That makes sense.
Continuation of my consciousness to the point where I cannot perceive any break in my consciousness, that's good to go. Though, I've mentioned this sci-fi series before. Have any of you read the Commonwealth Saga, the Void Trilogy, or any of the works in that universe?
No, I haven't read a whole ton of that sort of stuff.
So that would involve actually reading.
Yeah.
Or audiobooks. But yeah, it's by Peter F. Hamilton, in case anyone wants to look into it. And it is a future that I find rather fucking awesome. The way that they explain things is that at some point in time, we not only develop the ability to make wormholes, so we just start expanding throughout the universe by making wormholes at different locations, dumping ourselves onto the planets. In the Commonwealth Saga, it starts off with us literally building these portals and then just having trains run through them. Because why the fuck not?
The Brett Kavanaugh kind of train?
No, the proper sort, not the imaginary sort.
Fair enough.
So,
I'm sorry, the word train has been forever ruined by that nonsense of a scandal.
Oh yeah. Especially with the one woman saying, yeah, I was going to the parties. Yeah, I was in college. They were a bunch of high schoolers. I was going to these parties, though, and they kept on running trains on girls, and I kept going. Wait, what?
And then I was the woman they were running a train on, and then I had to speak up.
And that still is a, wait, what? It sounds like that was what you were gunning for the entire time. If you kept going, you're the predator in this situation. Just you're a reverse predator. You're a very weird predator. You're a goddamn... what's the name of the type of predator? You're a ambush predator. You're an ambush predator in this situation. You're going someplace that you know they're going to be, and you're trying to... What the fuck? This is the weirdest goddamn testimony I've ever heard. But...
Oh, I tripped and fell. I hope no one runs a train on me.
Yeah, effectively. But in the series, they develop that type of shit. But everyone is extraordinarily long-lived because they develop rejuvenation therapies, as well as they have a process known as relifing that they are able to do. So if someone is murdered, they're able to completely remake the person based off the information that they have available, the DNA, all that in solid storage, as well as their memory storage. So the person's able to be brought back to life. And
there's a movie I can never remember the name of where time, like lifespan, is a currency. So you like buy a bus fare and it costs like 3 seconds. That like you have like a digital watch that shows how much life you've got left to live, and everything you buy deducts from it. And if you receive payment or something, it adds years to your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's in time.
I knew it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this, pretty much everyone, except for people that decide to go out into frontier worlds or decide just not to do any of the treatments, has access to the rejuve treatments. Relifing becomes part of insurance policies.
Oh, okay.
And it's the universe and humanity, how it's adapted to these technologies, and then it goes into some cool shit like a war between this hive mind alien species. Standard sci-fi stuff, but the rejuve tech and the augmentations that they have in that series are shit that I'm just looking at going, I want now all of it. And they also have reprofiling, where you can augment your own DNA. You can tweak it however you want. So you want to be 6'6" with brown hair, brilliantly blue eyes. You can program your system so that you're 6'6", blonde hair or brown hair, brilliantly blue eyes, and all that shit. But it maintains your thought process because your memory storage and effectively a copy of your mind is always maintained.
Just quickly, Johnny, have you seen that movie? Is Justin Timberlake in it?
Yeah, and
Okay.
no, I haven't seen it.
Okay,
Because
Jack and Frost were both saying, "Oh, that movie with Justin Timberlake," and I was like, "I haven't seen it. I've only heard that one part of the premise." So
no, it is Justin Timberlake, and the only actual draw to that movie is Matt Bomer.
is what?
Matt Bomer.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably the only reason I go see that movie.
No, I don't have any plans to watch it. It's just I thought that premise was pretty cool, where you've got your lifespan as a form of currency, and like if you've got something that people want to pay you for, you can live forever.
So the trick is just finding the right thing.
Well, I mean, OnlyFans whores would live forever.
That is a terrifying future that you've just put forward.
Yeah, I know. But it is what it is. I mean, that what's her face, Amaranth, or however you pronounce it, she'd never die. She rakes in money, / lifespan. Same with the one whose name is almost Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Her. She'd never die. She makes a stupid amount of money just for being on Twitch.
Also, now that would be a world where literally Sims would be dying to come.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Trying to get one last nut in before they go.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. Though people are saying that the movie itself is pretty shit.
I
can believe that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm not saying go out and watch the movie. I'm just saying it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Well, it's like because we were talking. I was at a comic book convention, and I met because I was going to get an autograph for my stepson because he's a huge Game of Thrones fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I have no idea who this guy is. I'll just get an autograph and, call it good.
Yeah.
So whose autograph did you end up getting?
I'm gonna have to see. I think it's the guy who played like Tyrion Lannister.
You do realize you could have just said, "Oh, some midgets," and we would have known immediately.
Well, I wouldn't.
Well, it
I
wasn't the midget guy. I don't know. He's one of the Lannisters.
Then,
I literally have no idea who they are.
was he old? Was he young?
He's a young guy.
How
Was it Sean
young?
Bean?
We talking teen young? We talking 20-something young? Or are we talking like 30s or 40s?
20-something young.
Did you get an
let's see
autograph
here.
by Joffrey?
Wasn't Joffrey.
Okay.
You're just talking gibberish at this point. I don't know what any of these words mean.
Tyrion would have been the midget.
All right, so okay, yeah, it wasn't the midget.
Tywin would have been the older guy.
Let's
It
see here.
would not have been Jaime Lannister because Jaime Lannister would have been in his 30s or 40s, so 20s too young.
Although it would have been badass to have them out in there. That guy is huge.
Yeah, fucking. Goddamn, what's his name? It's Bjornsson, I think, is his surname.
It's, that was actually the big problem I had with Telltale's version of Game of Thrones is they kind of just assume you're a fan of the show and that's why you bought the game. So they don't tell you who any of the characters are. So it's like, you don't seriously think I'd marry this guy for money, do you? It's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who he is. Maybe you would. How am I meant to know? And so it's like the only Telltale game I just didn't play past 15 minutes because like, I don't know who anyone is and you refuse to tell me.
Mm.
And they all have stupid names, which makes it even harder to remember who anyone is.
I don't know. If they were all named Bob, I would have found that a hell of a lot harder to remember than all of them having different but weird.
If they were all named Bruce, it would be much simpler.
Yeah, but then you'd have to get Bruce Campbell to play every single part in Game of Thrones.
As long as they don't introduce anyone called Michael, because not being named Bruce does tend to confuse things. There's Monty Python have a good explanation of it all. I'll find a link.
Also, just the fact that you went to Michael made me think of Burn Notice.
Well, I'm just quoting the Monty Python sketch where
I realize.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's see here.
Did you ever see Burn Notice?
That was a good show.
No.
Yeah, that show was awesome for a good while. It was Bruce Campbell as Sam Axe, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Then I can't remember the main actor from it, but his character's name was Michael, who was a former spy that got burnt and was trying to figure out how and why, and it ended up kind of like spy MacGyver bullshit going on in every episode. It was awesome.
Jeffrey Donovan.
Yes, Jeffrey Donovan. Didn't he end up murdering someone or committing some sort of horrendous crime? I mean, in real life, not in the show.
Jeffrey Donovan?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Let's see. Burned by cops after DUI.
Oh, it was just a DUI? I thought it was something more serious than that.
I'm not sure what led Kivadim to just spout off a bunch of characters' names in chat. But mentioning Patrick, Mr. Krabs, Sandy reminded me that the Nickelodeon version of Smash Brothers is out, and I haven't played it yet. It's one of the many games that I'm going to have to get to, but it looks great. It looks like a lot of fun.
And it was a continuation of people naming random fantasy characters and characters from other things, trying to jog Johnny's memory as to which person he got an autograph from.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Started with like Frodo and Picard and Samwise.
Okay, and then apparently Czech mentioned SpongeBob, which is what caused Keith to start naming other characters from the show.
Yep.
Okay.
Here we are. Let's see if I can find it here. Nope, that wasn't that guy.
But
Farland was there. Orlando Jones was okay. So this is the one I went to. Let's see if I can find who it was.
Bruce Campbell needs to be in more things.
That's generally true as a universal statement.
Because he's just a charming fuck when he's in a movie. Or a
I
television
just realized
series.
we've been going for 2 hours. It just sort of
So we have.
look at the time. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Does it seem like we're winding down? Shall we go around the horn? Technically, it's Johnny's night, so I will give him the say-so on when to end.
Yeah, if you guys want to close, that's fine.
Yes, Bruce Campbell is charming everywhere.
That is true. That's one of the few things Jack has said that is correct.
Yeah. So, Terry, do you want to go first in your sign-off?
Sure. Everyone, go play Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, whatever it's called. It looks cool. Go play it.
Nice. Do you want me to go then, Johnny, and you close out, or do you want to go and then I'll close out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, I'll again pull up one of my favorite toasts, just because it is not said enough. Here's to cheating, here's to stealing, here's to fighting, and here's to drinking. If you cheat, may you cheat death. If you steal, may you steal a woman's heart. If you fight, may you fight with a brother. And if you drink, may you drink with me.
Nice. I'm going to go with the long story short recollection of this story. So, to get this guy's autograph, we started talking about. He asked if I was a fan of the show, and I said, "Well, I stopped after they killed off Sean Bean, so I saw no reason to continue." And he just sort of nods and he goes, "Fair enough." And I go, my son, my stepson is a huge fan of the show, so I figured I would get an autograph for him from you, since you're here. And he goes, "Okay, that's cool." And we started talking about, he was talking about how, what it was like working with Sean Bean. And I'm like, honestly, I don't think there's a movie he's in that he does not do a good job in. He's one of those actors. And he goes, "Oh yeah, he's in that movie," and he's trying to recollect what it is. It's the Channing Tatum, Mila Kunis movie. Something about Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, it's Jupiter Ascending.
And he goes, "I watched him in that movie, and he was fucking amazing." And I go, "Really? Was the movie good?" He goes, "No, it was fucking ridiculous. But Sean Bean knocked it out of the park."
Yeah, everyone else in that was just absolutely brain dead.
Yeah, he's like, no, he was amazing in that movie. That movie was absolutely ridiculous. And I just started laughing. I'm like, I like you, man. Oh, Finn Jones. That's who it was. Loris Tyrell.
Ah, okay, Tyrell.
Oh, it was Iron Fist.
Nice.
I was unaware that Iron Fist was right there. It was the mask, I tell you.
But yes. So, anything else that you want to say? Do you want to do the actual sign off and then I'll close out once you do?
All right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, good night, everyone. Zoo's closed.
Have a good
Hi,
night, all.
guys.